Good evening, everyone. I'm Commander Leonhardt, along with Rex Raoul, the Velvet Voice, and the Dulcet Tones, bringing you another exciting Lunar Table round match in Highway to the Threema Zone between Frostbite 3030, who's 0-3, and Dragus, who's 1-3.
Yeah, we've got a couple racers that are kind of fighting for their lives in this. There's still a chance that they could advance if they get to that 3-3 level, but that fourth loss is definitely going to be not good for either of the runners tonight. So both of them are going to be trying desperately to advance tonight. We've got these two runners, Frostbite and Dragus. Dragus so far has one win against Infinius, has taken some losses to Bakashinobi, Izutayama, and Antidale. Frostbite looking for the first win of the table stage. So far, taken losses to Dia, Bakashinobi, and Coffee and Chocobos. No slouches that he's lost to so far.
Yeah, anybody that did what it took to get to table is definitely no slouch, but even amongst the table group, those are some well-respected names.
Correct. And so hoping to go on a winning streak here at the end after starting off 0-3 is pretty rough, but not out of the realm of possibility.
No, other people have done it in past tournaments, and it could certainly happen again. But to get that win, they've got a potential for something pretty jetty here with these objectives, wouldn't you say?
I would, and it might depend on the location of a couple specific key items in that Earth Crystal, and then, of course, the Legend Sword and Adamant. So the other objectives number 2 and 3 on this one, the defeat the bosses of Baron Inn and defend Favul, those are going to be available to the runners right out of the gate. As soon as they're able to defeat those bosses there, they can do it, no gating required. That objective number 4 with the treasury will require the Earth Crystal. It doesn't require a trip through Zot, but it does require going and unlocking that treasury. So if we find an early Earth Crystal, Go mode could be in very soon. But if it's not found early, it could be a big scavenger hunt.
Yeah, and Palom doesn't tell us much, the start character, in terms of how fast Go mode will be. It's not like, say, Tella. He's going to help knock out the overworld objectives really fast, the things that our runners are going to do anyway, and work his way towards those lovely black magic spells to keep things rolling. But the second character and the starting item are the things that really interest me. Darkness Pass, Earth Crystal, or even Magma would suddenly accelerate things.
And if we do end up getting that Earth Crystal early, the struggle might be to figure out what you're going to do for grind, especially if the Darkness Crystal isn't found early and you do have that that pass. That could really shake things up. But we're just speculating now. Let's see what actually happens as the race is beginning.
We've got Cecil and we've got some sort of Mylon handing over the
Earth. This is so
Romus access away from Go mode. 20 seconds in.
Wow.
So,
this is crazy.
The treasury. Figure out what characters you can bring along with some of those weapons, maybe.
Now, this might be... I think jet seeds are sometimes the most difficult on these table flags, until you're able to get that Darkness Crystal and Tella in hand, and you know exactly what you're going to do for your grind. Any other options that are available, they've got to be thinking about them as early as now, seeing that Earth Crystal.
And Frostbite going straight to Troya. Dragus not far.
I think with the starting Earth Crystal, this is usually going to be the starting move anyways, but with that objective, of course.
Mm-hmm. And they are heading into the castle step by step, and that means it is time for everyone's favorite game.
Raid that treasury!
Normally, when we're raiding treasuries, I think about the party that we have, but this time we've got to go without anything. But there's a lot of empty chests down there.
I saw a few things that had potential, but not much. I like the strength ring. I like the band. And we did see a Dark Knight Cecil, so that crystal armor could come in handy for cover strats, especially if Mac Giant becomes the grind.
And an Earth Hammer and a Heroine Robe longsword. This mini treasury, I think, is a better treasury than the big one.
Easily, by far. I've got enough of a soft spot for Cecil that I'm willing to bump the treasury up to 3 for that crystal armor and Cecil cover. That's the best I'd give it. But that mini treasury is at least a 5 for that Heroine Robe and the longsword.
Yeah, I think the Strength Ring and Bandana gives a solid 2 for me, and that's about as far as I can go. I guess you do get a lot of cash for selling that crystal armor, which is what I'd probably do with it. But at any rate, we see still.
Yeah, even if and Dragus sells it right away.
We see silk webs for sale in a shop in Toria. Very useful item on hard bosses, including Zeramus. No surprise that we want to pick up 1 or 2 of those here.
Yeah, Frostbite's going to hang on to that crystal armor. Might be contemplating taking that Cecil, but yeah, the sale there by Dragus, I think, puts him firmly in Team Not Cecil.
I would imagine so. I think if you're thinking about possibly keeping Cecil, you probably keep that armor, even if you're not going to use it for the Zeramus fight. And now going to a more traditional starting place that we see a lot of the runners of the table flags go for this watery passage and get a character check, get a little bit of loot. The loot's probably not going to be as important with those treasuries being raided already, but getting characters is going to be key right now.
And we do find Porum, which is a respectable white mage, and if you grab her early enough, you might be making use of twin magic to punch through some of the spots until Porum learns his spells.
And then the chest right following that Porum, there is a Siren. Those are very rare in this flag set. You can pick them up in a few chests if you're lucky. Otherwise, they're not going to be in shops unless you are lucky to pull them in the Kokol shop, and you can't steal them anymore either. So getting one of those is definitely a rare find.
Yeah, and the typical speculation for Siren is, do you scramble an egg or do you take a moon fight? Here, with an early Palom, depending on what the early bosses look like, I might be tempted to just do a quick double Lilith to get him underway.
If it's a tough boss at Fabul, I could definitely see that, especially if you end up taking this second Palom, which we're seeing in Damcian.
Bunch of cash in the Baron and the Damcian basement, and a small stack of mute arrows, and nothing else to speak of, really.
Looks like Frostbite did commit to that forum. I don't think Dragus did. So it's just, I always find it interesting what characters the different runners prioritize, especially when you're making these early checks. We haven't even been to Mysidia, which has 2 free characters as well.
Yeah, that has been the most interesting thing about table flags, the permajoin, where once you put someone in your party, they're not leaving. Got a vanilla Yang on Hobbs, and whether that robe is a water hack or a gauntlet will have to remain a mystery.
I think even the possibility of a water hack, Yang isn't worth that.
Oh yeah, no, I would not take that fight at all. I'd be curious to know. If I go down to Feymarch after this and I see a blue robe, for instance, I'd like to know without peeking that. Is it a water hag? Is it a gauntlet?
A couple more character checks incoming. We've got Mysidia and Mount Ordeals, and we do find Tella. I'm sure the runners are going to be happy to see that, and another Cecil.
That brings up the second Cecil option. With vanilla agility flag, you have to have Cecil as your anchor, which takes away a lot of his advantages. But if you have 2 Cecils, you can keep one low level as your anchor and let the other one power up.
I think the runners might consider that if they find a good Cecil weapon early. Otherwise, I think they're going to be looking to either just go full-on mage or someone like Sid or Kane, I think, is often in that kind of physical bruiser role.
Yeah, agreed. Much as I love Cecil, my minimum when practicing with these flags has still been a lightsaber or a defense sword. Some people would raise that to X-Cal. Some people would even go no Cecil without Crystal Sword.
If I have a defense sword, I'd still rather have Kane, but at any rate, Frostbite has decided to go into the Antlion Cave and start clearing some potential key item locations. Remember, we might have Go Mode available to us, but we still need a way to get to Zeramus, and that's going to be through either the pass or the Darkness Crystal. So there is still something that we need to find.
It's not Go Mode if you can't go to Zeramus.
It's Go Mode, but you're stuck at a red light.
But if you're already late, then it's ironic.
Oh, well, I wasn't much for music anyway, so... we see Bahamut, King of the Monsters, down in Antlion Cave. Looks like Frostbite going to be making use of Twin Magic to one-shot Bahamut after a bluff.
Yep, bluff, twin, we're done here. Not where you really want to see Bahamut. That could have been used on almost any boss, and Bahamut is quite manageable in tougher spots.
You get the Luca key for that. That's one that I imagine our runners would not want to have to use.
Yeah, you talked about the difficulty of grind if Go Mode happens early. If we were to get Magma Pass, then door grind might be an option, but as you say, nobody wants to do a door.
Yeah, it's like it might be a little bit of peace of mind that you have a way to grind, but it's not going to be the preferred way to grind, I don't think.
But it does give Frostbite his second key item. Granted, with these objectives, I don't think we're eyeing 10 out of 10 unless something really bizarre happens with this Earth Crystal, but you never know.
And that's kind of the problem with thinking about the door grind in general. The amount of experience you get, especially for mages, is not going to be really all that much when you do the door grind. So that's going to be a tough one to deal with. Looks like that boss up on Mount Hobbs was the Water Hag, so the Alt Gauntlet is still looming out there.
Bard. Fight, Bard.
And the Fabul Gauntlet defense over on Frostbite's side, which is, of course, objective number 3, being guarded by the Magus Sisters.
I don't mind seeing this too badly here. Magus Sisters can be awfully rude in some other spots, and even though they're punching hard enough to one-shot here, it could be a lot worse.
I think this is a little bit scary just because of how low levels we are. If the runners had a few more levels under their belts, I don't think it would be too much of a problem. But this might be tough for Frostbite to pull out here. Might be time to reassess and wait until you get another battle or two under your belt. And yeah, there's the reset.
Yeah, they're going to need a little more. He's going to need a little more help out of this, but I think get some level 2 elementals on Palom from another fight somewhere and focus on taking Little Sister down before she causes too much trouble.
The other option would be to try to find maybe a decent bow. We have found a couple stacks of mute arrows, which will do 4 times damage to those Mega Sisters as well. So that would be another option, especially if there's like a Rosa or something waiting somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very solid choice for dealing with this.
I believe that there was a mute dagger that was found, and Palom can use that, but I don't know, like, casting an Ice 2 on Mindy might be a better choice than having him up to the front row and swinging with a mute dagger. But that is something that's out there as well.
Yeah. With something as potentially as jetty as this seed could be, being able to get through the overworld quicker could turn into all the lead you really need. So dealing with Magus Sisters at low level could be very important.
And it might be talking about what you mentioned earlier, Commander, possibly cashing in that Siren up here on Mount Ordeals to get that extra oomph you need to beat those Maga Sisters, too.
Would you like more Palom? Because we do have more Palom.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if our runners maxed out on Paloms if we find an early Darkness Crystal and just rock with 3 or 4 Paloms and Tella for the rest of the seed. Looks like Frostbite's going to check the first bounce on Mount Hobbs and finds Valvolus. So this isn't going to be the only way to get to the underground, because Valvolus can't guard that. But this Tornado Lady is going to be the first boss here and could be a decent XP boost if Frostbite is able to take her down.
Yeah. Valvolus is not as scary as she could be in, say, the back attack spot. She doesn't have the magic evasion that you need Nuke to hit her. That flare's landing the same 1600 about that it landed earlier. So, just a matter of where the attacks goes. Heads up by Frostbite to get that blink in.
Yeah, also making more use of that Bluff plus Twin combo to deal more damage, and just a couple of Twins casts and Valvolus is down. 3 levels on Palom. All the early level 2 elemental spells does make Palom quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, and leveling up Horum to where she starts picking up things like Cure 2 and Life 1 and some other useful spells will be nice.
We see kind of a if you've got agility set up just right in some spaces, the Mega Sisters will do this and have Mindy fire off her magic before Sandy puts on the wall and actually hit Cindy with the fire to it. You don't see that too often. We saw it on Dragons the Screen before the Grimoire pulled out the Titan to eliminate the sisters, and we get the objective number 3 completed, and we get a Twin Heart.
Okay, we've already had Wraith at Treasury. We might have music soon.
It's possible, but that's our underground access, because we know that there has to be a way underground that is not through Mount Ordeals.
Yep, and that leaves Tower of Zada as an option. We've seen that. Could be Twin Heart, could be Baron N, could be a Demus lurking about. We'll see what happens.
I think only the Baron Key and the Hook are things that you can use for more overworld checks here, if you count the Evelyn Cave as overworld. So I don't know whether or not to consider it that way. Looks like it's Leviathan in the back attack position here on Mount Ordeals. Not too tough, all things considered, but those Lit 2s from Palom and the Twin Magics from Horum going to be doing quite a bit, and Leviathan is down. Frostbite doing well up here on Mount Ordeals. The Mega Sisters had him struggling a bit, but these bosses up here, no problem so far.
Yeah. Win is an excellent start, and Frostbite is proving that.
And this play to get Tella's spells online right now is going to be very helpful throughout the rest of the checks before we get to the grind time as well. Because, of course, completing Mount Ordeals will make all the Cecils become paladins and make all the Tellas learn all their spells. And so it's a very important place to complete in a flag set like this.
Yeah, weak is there for some bosses that don't have the boss bit, and of course it's needed for the D machine grind, but those level 3 elemental spells in Virus and Stone also all come in handy. Size is also on that list.
Not to mention the almighty Berserk if we end up getting some physical attacks as well.
As a runner, I don't mind a CPU here. CPU can be a slog in some higher HP spots. We're looking at, as you can see, based on the remedies, a little over 800 for that back CPU. This is much more common.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying in certain spots, but in this one, it's probably doable without too much problems. Um, it's still going to take a little bit more time. The the wall factor on the CPU makes it a little bit annoying to deal with when you're talking about a mage-based party. So have to burn a star veil here to start reflecting spells off. But you've got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I think Frostbite has the right of it. You just bounce, see where the globes come in. It's really unfortunate if they hit both of your people. There's some unfortunate combos here, but a quick life potion blunts that, as both effectively only takes one death. That does also mean that those orbs are coming right back.
And Dragus into the second fight in Baron Yin now and finds Dark Knight Cecil. That's going to be a tough fight here.
Yeah, that and Dark DKC showing off immediately, hammering in for 300. That spot's not getting cleared anytime soon.
You're either going to need a bunch of levels or get somebody with a higher HP pool, possibly that Paladin Cecil, or if you're lucky enough to find something like a Cid up here in Tower of Zot, which seems to be where Dragus is going next.
If Frostbite's determined to take this out, I think you do pop the Siren. I think you do take 2 Liliths. I feel like it would get Palom to Quake with the other bosses that have already been taken out. If not, pretty darn close. And then you can just come in here, probably just pop 1 Quake and call it.
I'm not sure if that'll be enough to get him to Quake, but he'll definitely get Virus.
Dragus is going to take the trip up the Tower of Zot with the Earth Crystal, decides he doesn't want to have anything to do with what might be at Ordeals yet.
Might be trying to get an idea of what party members are available at this time, hoping that the level 2 elemental spells are going to be enough to fell whatever boss is here. And we're going to see that right now, and it is Dr. Luge, probably one of the more doable bosses at this point.
Yeah, completely agree. The hit points of this location are split up over 3 targets. You've got Lightning Weak all over the place that you can go after with Palom's spells. Okay, 364 is not what I had him. We might need some bluffs here. Yeah,
some bluffs. That might be what's in order here, but that Blink from Tella is going to provide ample defense, at least in this portion of the fight.
Meanwhile, Frostbite did get through the ordeals. Gets to keep the Glass Helm, gets to keep the spells on Tella, has Paladins, and can move.
So now Frostbite has the option to go back to Fabul to take on those Maga Sisters now that he's got a fully powered Tella and some more levels on Palom and Forum to help out in that fight, because he was really close to being able to turn the corner on that fight before, and these levels and everything might have been just the boost that he needed.
Yeah, because we haven't even gotten away underground, and this seed has already shown a considerable amount of rudeness for something that we were speculating could be Jetty, particularly after we found that Earth Crystal.
But it looks like Frostbite is going to go where Dragus went, which is the Baron Inn, where there's that forum. Not going to be happy about that Dark Knight Cecil. I don't think he's got what it takes to beat that boss at this point. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we can get some tier 2s on Tella in the right window, but I think it's going to be tough.
Very tough. Tella's the only one that's going to survive the initial shot. He's going to have to. I'd shoot. You might as well just go whole hog at this point. Have him queue up a Cure 4 on himself. Hope that it, landed after one wave. Survive a second wave. Get another Cure 4 off because it's got the fastest casting time. All right.
The Cure 4 is actually not a bad option. But maybe these Cure 2s will be enough. And we got it up as long as it's not a really high roll here. 4 HP to spare.
That was very close to Commentator's Curse there.
So Frostbite able to beat the Dark Knight by the skin of his teeth. And that is going to be objective number 2 completed for Frostbite.
And
get close to completing objective number 1 while we're at it. Why not?
I mean, clearly you grab the Legend Sword and skip the Magus Sisters, right? That's the play? Chat, this is not the play. Never do that in this situation.
Dragus, meanwhile, is in the real fight, having some Tela MP issues, but who doesn't? And that laser able to knock out a character at this point, you need to start doing damage to Dr. Luge in order to get that laser damage down.
Starveil might be a legitimate play here. Starveil will reflect both emission and beam back at Dr. Luge, and beam's HP based, so the high hit points of this spot will actually play in your favor there. And the laser won't reflect, but at least it won't hit.
Looks like Frostbite is now ready to head back to Fabul to take on those Magus Sisters. So we'll be getting that crystal once this is complete as well, which is crazy to think it's less than 25 minutes into this seed.
Less than 25 minutes in, you get a crystal. It's only your 4th key item. And go.
Is able to take down the robotic mad scientist, and we're going to get to that second boss, and more importantly, we're going to see the 2 characters that are up here as well.
Yeah, this team is really crying for a solid warrior. Would have really liked that for a few of the fights that they've already been through. So what do we have? Nope. So far, and we don't. We have Tela, and we have a Sparkle in the back of.
And it looks like Frostbite having no problem with the Magus Sisters this time. Getting that Grimoire out, able to take down Cindy, and now only Sandy remains. Yeah, this shouldn't be too much longer. Frostbite will have that done. But we get Sid. So there is that HP tank that we need, that Dragus might feel that he needs in order to complete that Baron Inn fight.
Yeah, Sid almost has enough HP starting out to take all 3 waves. Certainly has enough time to toss a Cure 2 in and get the job done. And as Dragus is showing, he makes a decent archer.
The question is this boss going to be one that's beatable as well, as Frostbite gets the crystal for completing the 3 objectives? Ooh, you're getting wyverned there.
These are the best kinds of seeds, in my opinion. Some people fear the jet, panic from the beginning. Some people look at the root objectives at the beginning and go, oh, we're in for the haul. I like the ones that are a bit of a sucker punch. It looks like you've got jet potential, and then the seed just comes out of nowhere and says, no, I wasn't done with you yet.
And Dragus does not have what he thinks he needs in order to beat that wyvern. Going to be walking out of the Tower of Zot. We'll see where he decides to go next. If he wants to get another shot at Dark Knight Cecil, getting the rolls like Frostbite did, or if he goes somewhere else at this point. Remember, Dragus hasn't completed Mount Ordeals at this point.
No, he's definitely a little bit behind on checks. He's got Zot knowledge, and he's gotten through one boss. So if he ends up having to come through here, he'll at least be done with that Dr. Luge fight, but we still have a Twin Heart unchecked on the table that could also be a way out.
That Sid might be the key to beating that Twin Heart boss too, because if you'll recall, the boss that's in the vanilla Dark Elf location has a very high magic defense, and the getting damaged in through um, the spells of Palom is just not usually going to be the way to win there. Dragus remembers a treasure that he found in the Baron Inn the first time. It's that curse ring. He might be going back to Zot to fight that wyvern with some better agility manipulation available.
Yeah, and Jeebus and Neobari pointing out rightly that Twin Heart pretty much does have to be the logical way underground. It can't be Zot anymore with that wyvern showing up.
Yeah, there has to be a way that isn't through that wyvern. So it could still be that behind the wyvern is the magma key and behind Twin Heart is Hook, but not the only way underground is going to be through there. Even if I said that sentence all backwards.
Yeah, the only way it's not Twin Heart, I don't believe either of our runners have checked Mist Cave or Waterfall. If there's a D-Mist hiding there, D-Mist could hold the logical underground option.
Frostbite taking the trapped chest in Zot, the Flame Dog, going to try to get a really good piece of gear. Also got to Virus on his Palom with that, so that's nice too. Ooh, a second Siren being found. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, as you pointed out earlier, this is the only way you're going to get a hold of them is either in a chest or a key item check, maybe. I'm not sure where the tiers are on that, but I've seen some pretty lousy items from key item checks here, so I gotta believe that a Siren's possible.
So now both of our runners in the Tower of Zot at the same time. Dragus already has Dr. Luge defeated and is aware that there is a Trolley Wyvern hanging out in the second boss spot here. Frostbite just getting the news that the first fight is Dr. Luge.
Dragus was able to deal with this largely on the back of Bluffed Palom throwing spells, although Dragus I don't think had Virus at the time, so that's going to speed things up a bit.
Yeah, Dragus was using Lit 2, but Dragus also had two Paloms throwing spells, whereas Frostbite has a Palom and a Porum. So a little bit different makeup, but a bit better spell list for Frostbite here. So kind of interesting in that regard.
Although Porum is turned into Berserker Murder Child, it looks like, with arrows flying out without any commands.
Finding that Elven Bow has given her an offensive option besides casting Twin.
Yeah, and with the things you mentioned looming, like the Twin Harp, where you've got to come in physically, having that available is nice.
And we see the Curse Ring really turning the tide. This is what agility manipulation can do for you. When you take a look at the two fights that Dragus had, between the Cursed Ring and the changing of the battle speed, this was so much easier.
Yes. Yeah, if you've got a boss that's faster than you, and you need to get some commands out, then cursing your anchor will let everyone operate at that same high speed. And with the low battle speed, you'll have time.
And this puts both of Dragus's Paloms at Virus as well. So that's going to be pretty nice. We've got a decent physical beater in Sid. It might be Twin Harp time after that, but we're going to see what this key item is. If this is Darkness Crystal, then we might forgo Underground completely.
No, it was more motion to get Underground.
That was really quick. Was that the rat tail?
It was a pan.
Oh, it was the pan. Okay, pan.
That opens up a lot of things when we get underground. bonk Yang on the head to get a key item check there, fly back over to Fabul and get 2 key items from Sheila. And now that
first, Dragus has to return
Dark
to
Knight
Barian.
settled, let's revisit this conversation.
First, Dragus has to revisit that Baron Inn and defeat that Dark Knight who's been looming. Didn't like something that was said of, had forgotten to return the battle speed back up to after the first one. Something that I know that I am always doing.
Wyvern standard time, but he realized immediately, hey, I should have been able to input an action by now. Oh, right.
Now, Frostbite about to get the even worse news that the second fight up here is Wyvern. Don't recall if Frostbite picked up that cursed ring in Baron. If he's got it, then that'll probably be an easy way, like an easy reset, and then go right into the fight again, of not having to walk out and in like Dragus did.
Earthhammer's going to be nice for Sid once this fight is over, if Frostbite can get through. It's got some definitely better damage than the Wooden Hammer. It is also Fire Elemental if you're dealing with a couple of bosses that care, and it does a low-level Quake for some.
And Frostbite just got wyverned, but Dragus has defeated that Dark Knight that got him first, so the revenge is enacted, and we have objective number 2 completed for Dragus, and that's going to be his crystal. Both of our runners have 3 objectives completed and the crystal in hand at 33 minutes, but we still need a way to get to Zeromus.
Yeah, this could end up being one of the longest gaps between getting a crystal and finishing a seed then for a table set.
And remember, Dragus still has to do Mount Ordeals as well.
Yes, that's one check he still needs to knock out to get Tella on. But while we've got a quick moment with scenes where we know what's coming up, I'd like to thank Dathis for handling the tracking here and Niabari for handling the restreams, taking care of stuff behind the scenes so that Rex and I can chat about the exciting race.
One quick clear up, it's Jeebus doing the tracking tonight.
Jeebus, thank you. Apologies.
And we see Dragus is going to go take a peek and see if there's a cheeky D-Mist. It was Kane Azo in the vanilla D-Mist location. And now he's going to go check that waterfall.
Last hope for avoiding Twin Harp? Nope, Antlion.
That's Antlion.
Official. It doesn't have to be directly Twin Harp. It could still send us on a chase through Baron Inn, but the path has to be through.
Attempt number 2 for Frostbite is another reset. So now I'm going to be looking at his... I didn't see if he got that first ring. He went through. But that might be the difference. Dragon gets... We'll see if he finds that cursed ring or something somewhere that helps him get through that. Something that he leaves on the table, and he's going to keep going with him, which could be huge.
Yeah, I did see that heroin row from the treasury, which, you know, you'd expect that when you're setting up a Berserk Archer, but it still just wasn't enough of a gap over the anchor to get to. What we're talking about there with RA1, relative agility 1, being faster than your anchor by enough of a margin that you're getting your actions in with just a 1-tick delay. The breakpoint is that your agility needs to be more than 2.5 times your anchor's agility.
And that's why the minus 15 agility that the cursed ring gives can be very useful in situations like we saw with that wyvern. So Frostbite I think probably just didn't look in that chest in the Baron Inn where that cursed ring was that we saw Dragus pick up. So doesn't know that it's right there available to him. So it's going to go somewhere else and it's going to go and check Cave Magnus. And looks like we're going to get some tunes here very shortly.
Yeah. Normally, you come here in the vanilla game, and Edward plays the same tune to Bind Fairies. In fact, soundtrack simply calls it Edward's tune. But we do like to randomize our fun things, and Boardface and Calamity have put together a lot of wonderful MIDI harp renditions of various video game tunes and a few other pop culture tunes, and a different one gets loaded into the seed each time.
Dragus making short work of these bosses up here on Mount Ordeals. With the added levels that he's gotten through the checks that he does, this is going to be even easier than it was for Frostbite when he got through these bosses. So shouldn't be too much of a problem, and they weren't terribly difficult. You should be able to actually defeat the CPU a lot faster than Frostbite 1.
Frostbite's going to have to wait for Dark Elf to attack. If you come in here with everyone magnetized or on the ground, then you sit through these spells before everything ends. And as you can see, not the worst time lost in the world.
Yeah, it didn't have to go to the week.
Yeah, you don't want to have to go to the week and the weekends and everything.
But now it's time for us to be quiet for a little bit because it's time for some of DJ Spoony B's rockin' tunes. And that hunt for D-Mist has turned out to be found here at the bottom of the Cave Magnus with Matoya's cave playing in the background. This is not going to be a very fun fight for Frostbite to get through.
No, not whatsoever. I'm pretty sure Frostbite was anticipating slapping a berserk on Porum immediately and just firing arrows into whatever boss is here. But D-Mist is going to slow you down considerably if you attempt that strategy.
I see he's trying some bluffs. I don't know exactly how far you'll have to bluff in order to make magic actually deal damage here, but it's going to be pretty considerable.
I think you could say that many bluffs would be a long con.
Very true, very true. But we got good defense with Tella providing those blinks, so the physical attacks, which as long as you don't fight D-Mist while it's in mist form, it's just going to do physical attack, transform, and then transform back after some time. So, bit of a long fight. This is one that Dragus will definitely have an advantage with that Cid in his party.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if, even having still to go through the cutscene, if Dragus got down here and got through this fight before. It's a long slog. There's just, I mean, not much to say. Jeebus is dropping some knowledge on us in chat. For anyone that doesn't see chat, there's some speculation about whether Virus has the oomph to get through, but Jeebus is letting us know that only a level 3 spell from Tella might punch for damage, but Virus at least will add on sap damage, even if it just hits. Quadrak dropping the sap. For now, let's have an encore.
Well, it's still playing.
Yeah, valid. I'm called out for muting the channel when I'm in chat because when I'm doing comms because I don't want the echo.
Yeah, it's really tough. I always turn it on at least for the beginning of the music so I can hear what song's playing. But yeah, it's tough.
Oh, we don't get it.
I don't know if Dragus has tricked out one of his Palums to be an archer alongside. Now, because since he didn't take the Porum, he doesn't have that heroin robe that Frostbite is taking advantage of. So he's going to be relying just on Sid. But I believe Sid will probably be doing as Porum is doing for Frostbite.
And I can't help but think that if the runners had made this check any earlier, that they would have quickly reset and said, no, I will see you later, no thank you. But they know this is the only way forward.
That's tough on a Frostbite screen. Porum has run out of arrows. So hopefully he's got another pack somewhere in his inventory.
Yeah, and that's the disadvantage of not being able to berserk your archer. If your archer's berserked, if your archer is berserked, then you never get to the point of them taking another action, and that's actually when the routine runs to update that you fired an arrow. So a berserk archer can fire away for a very long time, as long as they never lose that status. But without it,
looks like there's no more archery in the cards, so going for punch strats here from Porum.
I haven't been counting the damage that's been put out. I'm not gonna guess. I don't fight this spot often enough, but somewhere around here, I have hit points. Someone in chat's gonna beat me to it, I bet. I'm wondering how much damage Frostbite is put out, and if it's better to punch through the last little bit, or if you should just reset and find some arrows in a shot.
Looks like giving up on the punching, gonna settle for whacking it with a stick.
Better than punching, unless you're a monk, which nobody here is. That's who'd be good right here, right about now, is that Yang we saw on Hobbs.
But instead, we've got front row Palom with the Assassin Dagger going to try to be the MVP to get this victory over the Demas for Frostbite. Meanwhile, Dragus... Oh, and it worked. Frostbite is through.
Nice. So he was close enough. And if my sheet's right that I just found, it's 5,000 HP trying to cut through here. Oh, wow. Iridia's mom has it all along, and the D-Mist is in a rude spot in the Twin Heart. Oof.
Rydia's mom has got it all along.
It's all we want, and we've waited so long.
And so the question is this going to be... I think it could be one of three things: the Hook, the Magma Key, or the Baron Key.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to be one of those three.
And if your the school had
Uh,
magma key, you are the winner.
yep. Chivas hoping for that Baron key, hoping for the longest path, but apparently the seed decided this was long enough. Or now.
And going into that weapon shot, Frostbite gets a little bit bailed out. They had those mute arrows for sale in Mist, so able to restock up, and Porum now going to be an effective archer once again.
Greg is still trying to land a virus for more than 1 damage. He's got the tick going on already, but you know, why not? Why not? What else was your Palam going to do? Hit him with a stick?
Unfortunately, it doesn't do more tick damage the more viruses you cast, but
No, unfortunately.
still nice. But yeah, Dragus, that Sid did prove to be useful. Got through that fight quite a bit faster than Frostbite did, and it's going to be right on the heels of Frostbite and getting underground as well. So Dragus had some hiccups a little bit earlier in the race, but has made up for it. And then by being the one to actually be able to defeat that Wyvern, has put himself in a pretty good position right now.
Yeah, and he'll actually be able to make use of that Dragoon armor with Sid. It's not the worst thing in the world to find. It's got solid numbers, and it will also give you resistance to fire, ice, and lightning.
It's one of those things where it's like your great utility defensive armor. Like that's what you want if you're looking for defense all around, is that Dragoon armor. The problem is it takes up the same slot in your equipment as the really good offensive gear, like the black belt gi, the power shirt, or the karate. Those are kind of in these race type situations. The best defense is usually defeating your opponent before they defeat you.
Agreed. If you want Dragoon gear, it's definitely better to have it in a different slot that isn't being keyed in for offense.
If you're able to use a shield and have that Dragoon shield there, that's probably the best spot in general, but what you're going to do. And if you like vanilla, you've got a vanilla rat tail.
Yeah, now we might see some shenanigans with that Dragoon later. We got options for that curse ring anchor. In addition,
depending on what bosses you find.
Right, but yeah, a cursed ring might damage your stats, but its one benefit is that it turns resistances into absorbs. So if there's a boss that's relying on element damage to ruin your day, you could at least make a Sid anchor safe.
We see a lunar sparkle in the Ashura spot and a blue robe in the king spot, and we know that the blue robe is the alt gauntlet because we've already found the water hag.
And we know the sparkle is not Wyvern.
Now the interesting thing here is we're probably not going to see any of that check for quite a while, because our runners are going to be looking anywhere to find a way to get to Zeramis. That's the goal right now. If they find the Darkness Crystal of the Past anywhere else, then they'll take it. But I don't think we're going to get back to those Fame Arch bosses until absolute desperation time.
Yeah, both of our runners are now going into Sylph Cave. Dragus is going to get more out of this. Frostbite's just setting up Sheila 1. Dragus gets the Pan and Sheila 2 checks. Depending on what those 2 items are, the play through Zot could become much more important.
We can complete objective number 1.
I mean, there is a Cecil sitting around. There is a cursed ring if you run into a difficult spot, and now you have an Excalibur for him. And you've opened a shop in the game.
That is a real option for Dragus right now. Looks like he is heading down to the southeast. Oh no, he's going to Kokos. Wants to at least complete that, and like checking the shop here at this point isn't a bad plan, even if he doesn't care about the Cecil.
Yeah, the shop alone is worth it. If you're not gonna grab that Cecil, I hear Excalibur sells nicely too. Oh, I like those hourglasses. I don't mind the
And
crystal either.
and Sheila won, giving Frostbite just a ninja shirt, and that's good for a reset. Doesn't want to bother with that right now.
No, only one person wears a ninja shirt, and that's a ninja.
It looks like Frostbite ready to cash in at least one of those sirens. Going to crack open an egg, probably to get Palom to the Quake level.
Yeah, it's a significant breakpoint in his um, abilities, is getting to that spell. It's why we call him the Quack. Dragus shows he's not interested in Cecil, quickly sells the Excalibur and uses that money towards hourglasses and lovely crystal ring.
Yeah, at this point, there are 2 Cecils available, but you'd have to just take one. So you can't really manage your agility to the level that, at least to the level that a Dragus wanted. So saying no to the Excalibur, but did pick up 3 crystal rings and a bunch of hourglass 2s. So ready in case there's some tricky bosses, or depending on what ends up being the grind option, having those hourglasses might be nice. If you want to do a couple gold dragons, you got the hourglasses for them now.
Yeah, hourglasses are the key component. That and the weak spell to the gold dragon grind. Oh, big
Darkness
value out of that
crystal.
hand play.
Now, this is really what you can pinpoint it to is that one chest in the Baron Inn that Dragus opened that I don't believe Frostbite ever did, that had that cursed ring in it, because that's what allowed Dragus to go back up, defeat that wyvern, which got the pan, which led to Sheila 2 giving the darkness crystal. And right now, like, Dragus is in the driver's seat. This is his race at this time.
Did Dragus take care of ordeals, or was that Frostbite that knocked out ordeals?
Frostbite did it earlier. Dragus went through and just smoked through ordeals without any problems.
Tore through it when I wasn't. Fair.
Yeah.
So he is set. He can D-machine grind. That's probably the play here, and that'd be the grind I'd go for. Maybe he likes our gold dragons better because he doesn't have to set it up. But either way, he's ready to run.
Looks like he's at 9 key items. So that's another consideration right now. If he went down, there's the free check in Feymarch. He didn't do that. There is the vanilla rat tail. If he goes there, that'd be a 10th key item.
Yeah, and with 9, that makes a lot of sense to at least go make that peak since it's free.
And we're going to see probably another mage here, is my guess, for the last one. There's another Palom that will be available for Dragus. And that is the decision, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to fight any more bosses. You are just setting up for whatever your grind is and whatever Zeromus is, and slingshotting a mage up to the levels needed for spells is good.
And it looks like he's getting the airship. Hopefully that means he's going to... No, he's going to go set it up right now.
He still has the option, once he does the setup, to go look.
True.
The only thing you can't do once you've... Alright, so to break down how this manip works. Called a manip, but it's more of a seed check. You reset, and that causes the game to load a new random encounter seed for you. But then you need to know which one it is. So, thanks to the work that our community members Simbu and Twisted Flax have done, we have a chart where we can look at how many steps it takes to get into one or more fights in Baron Inn to determine which of 255 different random encounter seeds we have. And then, once we know that, we know how many more fights we have to do to find D-Machine. At that point, the only things you can do to ruin it are to get into an extra random fight, thus skipping past your D-Machine fight, or reset your game again. You can do whatever you want after. You can do key item checks, you can do shop buying. You can even do boss fights that don't advance the random encounter. Got a Vanilla Iridia here in Dwarf Castle, and Plague was the Sparkle that we got a peek at in Tower of Zot.
It looks like Dragus isn't going to make that check in the Feymarch. Might be like nervous and just wants to get at it. Might not be thinking about how many key items and how close he actually is, or might be thinking that the risk of it not being a key item would just be too much of a time loss and so wants to hedge on that end and just make sure that he gets in the grind, because of course our runners don't know where each other is right now, how close they are to completing the race.
Exactly. And after going through the entire overworld, you don't know that your opponent has also gone through the whole overworld and has struggled with everything you did. It'd be perfectly reasonable as a runner to be worried about the possibility that your opponent faded Zot entirely and spent no time.
Frostbite just gets a moon veil for completing that dwarf castle, so until Frostbite goes back to Zot, which I don't think is going to be something that happens anytime soon, Frostbite's going to be desperately looking for that pass.
Yeah, and that pass could well be on the moon.
It absolutely could be. It could be that Wyvern is 100% required.
Dragus has the Searcher 2 Beamer formation, which is a good sign. This can either lead to D-Machines or Horsemen, but given that he ran his Manip, I'm betting on the D-Machine. Fun fact, most of the opponents in the Giant of Babel are machines and thus take a lot of damage from Cid's hammers.
You see Frostbite going from town to town in the underworld, going to the armor shops. I bet he's looking for that cursed ring, because that's, I believe in this flag set, it's only available in the gated shops, which the underworld shops are.
You're quite correct. T-Pro moves the cursed ring, or S-Pro, excuse me, moves it into the gated category. And we see Dragus does indeed have the correct fight. D-Machines are on board. Pepita69 asking in chat, with the old Manip, there were some pesky horsemen mixed in. Is that true with the Baron Manip? No, I don't think so. I haven't delved fully into the chart, but I believe that the D-Machine Manip for this avoids all horsemen. That might well be why some of them break down into more than one fight. I know that with the old chart, you had a couple of possibilities for when your D-Machine fight was, because you didn't want to always have to do massive resets, and it was worth it when you were right there to just charge after the fight. But I think that, yep, and Jeebus is confirming. And given the amount of setup you have to do to make sure you get it right, I can't see the info not breaking it all the way down.
By deciding to go to Keyless Tower as the next check in his run. This boss, I think, with the fact that Frostbite has taken that egg to get to Quake, probably shouldn't be too much of a problem. There are certain bosses which could be tough here, but I think most of the really tough ones are gone. I think the scariest would probably be something like Pogo Pogo here.
Yeah, a lot of the bosses that would be traditionally scary, speaking of one, Odin, are blunted a bit by the fact that this spot just has laughably low magic.
Yeah, the combat stats, both magic and physical, are pretty middle of the pack here, just not too threatening. What it does have is a lot of hit points, but the fact that we've got Quake on Palom, all of Tella's spells, that should help out quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't think there's enough hit points on that Palom even to survive Odin attack at this spot.
I think you're right about that. I don't think we're going to get to an Odin, though.
Fair enough.
The Lit 3 will probably do quad 9s here.
Agreed. And you add on some Quakes for some help. What are we looking at here? Looks like looking at almost 19k. So
looks like I might be out of my element because the sword has already been raised. So I might be eating my words, and that was definitely not quad 9s. That was bad telestats again.
Only 5,500. I think a Silk Web is in order to get through this fight on the second pass. Because right now I think we're looking at about 11k. There comes the Odin. Oh, but I am wrong. I did not account.
Low magic says really coming into play there.
Yeah. You could get through this just on you can just get through this on Palom's back, honestly. You could go Thunderstruck. All you do is get Porum to heal him up. And
Porum is currently Berserk, so...
Yeah, that's not an option now. But, in hindsight, you could get through this just by having Porum heal everyone. But Palom's not going to get through that second Odin. It's going to come down to our Murder Shot. Oh, it was almost through. One last arrow gets the job done.
Archer Porum for the win here, and the reward is just a spoon.
Frostbite's going to accept the levels and get one closer to 10 key.
Another unfortunate turn there for Frostbite, not finding that pass. But every key item check that goes by the wayside is another one closer to going back and beating that Wyvern.
Yeah, and even if the pass is on Earth, the Wyvern is the better way to do this.
For sure.
It's giving you the machine grind.
Yeah, you've got a grind option and a way to Zeramus in one. The Darkness Crystal absolutely preferred in this flag set. Or in this seed, I should say.
In this seed. You're stuck with either Luca key or 1,200 hit point strats, I think, if you can't find those. Rex, are you familiar with 1,200 hit point strats? You want to explain what I'm talking about there?
It's a method of being able to defeat Zeramus by using reflected nukes and vampires. But you do need to have at least 1,200 HP in order to survive the nerfed Big Bangs through there. It is definitely an advanced strategy that you're not going to see very often. It is a long fight, but it will get the job done.
Yeah, it's a long fight, but if you don't have access to some of the preferred grind methods, it might be shorter than your grind.
Oh, yeah. There are certain situations where it's definitely going to be smarter to pull it out. And so you'll notice that when we the runners who are continually having success after success in these high events are going to be the ones who have that sort of tech in their pocket as well. So learning that is going to help you be a better free enterprise player, even if you don't have to pull it out very often.
Yeah, completely agree. I have yet to break down and learn 1,200 hit points or put it into practice, even though I've done Edward strats twice, just because, as you say, one thing I really wanted to have in my pocket.
Yeah, that tech came out right around the time that I finally gave in and learned how to do Eddie strats, and now there's even new tech that I need to learn. So
and
there's always something more to learn in free enterprise. That's the first thing you have to learn.
Yes, and we've got a lot of talented racers constantly looking for that edge, and the best part about this community is they're happy to share what they know with everyone to make us all better.
Well, they're all looking for that edge, but they end up finding the sin, right?
On these flags, absolutely.
Frostbite has decided to go to the Sealed Cave, cash in that Luca key. Gonna make a check here. The nice thing about this is, as long as this isn't a rabbit hole key item, Frostbite can just reset out of this once he sees it. That's the Sand Ruby. I imagine that's reset. He might want to check the boss, but I can't imagine the Sand Ruby being important enough to like focus on beating this boss.
Yeah, I don't think he's seen the character, and if he had, that probably makes it a much easier to see. Oh, hey, you know what? I think we're fine here.
Probably. It is still a time investment, and so I think that's probably the only thing that Frostbite has to consider. Like, do I want to take the time to beat this boss and walk or warp out?
I'm looking for Frostbite to recognize that there's no boss bit here and land weak on the officer, one-shot him, and watch the soldiers beat themselves silly. The officer has the bulk of the hit points. Yep, here we go. That'll speed things up considerably.
Yeah, I don't think this fight is going to take too long, but anything is longer than hitting the reset button.
That's true.
That's the only point that I have. Looks like Dragus is done with his grind. Going to be walking out of the... I didn't check the levels up if he got to the nuke level, which I assume was the goal there.
Yeah, if didn't quite nuke, Evis letting us know, didn't quite get nuke on all of the Palums, probably did get it on the slingshot.
So in that case, might have to cash in that Siren, maybe on a gold dragon fight to finish off the experience, something like that. Having that that Siren in the pocket kind of helps mitigate that here.
Yeah, Siren's the easiest option. The behemoths hanging out in the cave are normally an option for me, but with the lack of melee, not as exciting. Nuke's gonna punch through their incredible magic defense. There's also just random encounters on the moon or peeking moon bosses. But I agree with you, Siren first and foremost.
Especially since he's got that big stack of Hourglass 2s that is in his pocket as well from the Copal shop.
Meanwhile, Frostbite has punched through the Hypo guards and can start warping out of Sealed Cave, since exit is not an option.
I imagine at this point, Frostbite's next play will be to the Feymarch bosses.
Yeah, they are not pleasant thoughts at all. He might feel he's got enough speed in his party to get through that Wyvern, so it might be the time to turn around. Hopefully it is, because that's what's going to get him moving.
I agree. I hope that that's what he does for his sake. The problem is, if he's even wrong, that's such a big time commitment to go back up to Zot if you're not sure if you've got it.
Yeah, agreed. And that gauntlet's going to be a slog, but it's going to be a bit of a... Oh, wait, no, here we go. Get back up. Yes, good. Go, Frostbite, go. Oh, wait, this could just be a character check. Or a character grab.
That's what it looks like here, is it looks like he's going to the Tower of Wishes. We saw Edward as the character on the Lunar Dais that nobody's going to be interested in. Now the question is, when is Dragus going to grind more, or is he ready to go?
Again, what you mentioned earlier, if he's feeling behind, he might be worried that he doesn't have time to grab a nuke on all of his characters. You think that a Gold Dragon fight won't take too long, but you've still got to Hourglass the darn guys. You got to throw out your weaks. You got to punch them down. If you're feeling behind enough, you might just push.
We'll see where Frostbite goes next. It looks like he is going to the northwest towards Toria, so that looks like it is going to be a rematch against that Wyvern, which is good. like he was in desperation mode no matter what. It's either going back to this wyvern, which he absolutely would not want to go through, or the two bosses down at the Feymarsh, which are other bosses that you just don't want to fight.
No, just options got less and less pleasant, which is what was needed to get Frostbite back here.
And we see those gold dragons or King Ryu's, whichever name they go by, that's what they are here. And hopefully that's going to be enough to get his other Palams up to that nuke situation here.
Not even needing to take time with the Quake, just has the firepower to put down the King Ryu with that nuke and has already started on the other one with Quake. Lands the life glitch to get 180,000 experience out of this fight instead of 90. Looking good.
It'll be 90 here because he doesn't have the 10 yet.
All right, he didn't get 10. It will be 90. Still good.
It's still a good chunk of experience still.
And
enough for nuke on one of his Palams there. So that's at least 2 Palams with nuke.
Yeah, maybe he turns on random or looks for a free boss for 3 or decides 2 is enough. Let's find out. On for a ribbon boss. Not a bad choice. Especially when it's Dark Imps and you're packing hourglasses.
Yeah, that's a very fortunate find, without a doubt.
Yeah, this spot's good for 100k, maybe some weird rounding for the fact that we've got 3 bosses, but still 100k in general, and some life glitches will add to it.
Looks like with these Quakes being as taken, I'm not concerned as much with the life glitch at this point, which kind of makes sense. You're probably just a few thousand experience away from that nuke on that last Palam, so just take him out as quickly as possible. Frostbite able to get Starveil off on Forum, which was the goal there, and the Wyvern goes down. He's going to get that pan for completing this. Hasn't taken Sid at this point, so Frostbite might be eyeballing a 4-mage party at the end. Or 5-mage if you count Tella. I mean, I just consider him a doormat in the Zeramis fight.
No respect for the utility mage. But yeah, it looks like an all-mage team for Frostbite. It's going to run the pan checks, get the Darkness Crystal, probably race off to the Giant, but at this point, you never take a Z for granted, but Dragus would have to struggle mightily with this fight for Frostbite to catch up.
I tend to agree. The fact that Dragus was able to get everything in line to beat that Wyvern early is definitely the difference in this race. It's put him exactly where he needs to be to get that grind completed. Like Frostbite still has to finish that pan sequence now in order to get that Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, it was a rude overworld that ended up being the deciding factor in this seed. And the combination of the Demist and the Wyvern linchpins.
And so now it's time for us to ask that time-honored question, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Yep. Boardface has done some of the Z sprites, but most of them have been done by our wonderful art developer Scala Kitty. There are over 460 different sprites that Zeromus will transform into when the crystal is used on them.
Luckily for the runners, Zeramis' script remains unchanged, and so we know exactly how Zeramis is going to behave. But just knowing how Zeramis is going to behave, it's still going to be a tough fight a lot of the time. Zeramis is no joke.
Yeah, particularly when you're relying on reflect strats. Normal strats, you get some berserkers in the queue, and that helps effectively slow down Zeromus's actions. When you're completely relying on reflected damage, you don't have that luxury, and if you're busy in recovery mode, that completely shuts down your offense as well.
Frostbite now receives that Darkness Crystal, has a path to Zeromus, but still has to complete a grind before being able to take on the big boss. Frostbite now is thinking that he hopes that Dragus didn't beat that Wyvern.
Yeah, that's what you have to hope. That Wyvern, that your opponent couldn't get past the Wyvern either, and is running around taking care of others.
We see the journey over to Baron to set up that same manipulation that we saw from Dragus's early, and we have
Wulmus.
little Donkey Kong Country action coming at you.
Does this mean Cranky's hanging out here offering advice on Zeromus' script?
One could hope. And we see this reflect on Sid and reflected Dukes, the quad nines. It looks like Dragus pumped up with a little bit of bluff in the first round before transforming him to make sure that the Dukes are going to be doing max damage here. We want to get through this fight as quickly as possible. Ideally, in a situation like this, you want to see just one big bang. And if everything goes perfect, that big bang's going to hit either Sid or Tella. Or the counter nuke is going to hit either Sid or Tella. There, that's what I meant to say.
Yep.
Off
counter
this
nuke either
silk web,
bounces off your walls or gets the anchor that's done his job. The nerf to big, he doesn't put a new one on the floor, and you ride it home.
Yeah, everything's going very well for Dragus so far. This fight set up well, and I think this should be a victory for him. But you got to actually punch the buttons before we declare it. There's that first big bang. This one's going to be nerfed due to that silk web being thrown out. And you see this lower damage numbers. Everybody's still up over 1,000 HP. And you might be thinking, we've got no white mage. Well, we're not going to heal at all. We're just going to continue throwing the nukes. And like I said, we shouldn't see a second big bang. And Zeromus should go down before that happens.
If you have enough offense, defense becomes not a consideration. And if 3 nukes is not enough offense, then not much.
And there we go. That was a very fast Zeromus fight there. And Dragus wins in official race spot time of 1 hour, 20 minutes and 16 seconds. Big GG's to Dragus. And I believe Dragus has joined us here. So,
Hello.
Hey, okay, yeah. So I was looking at the wrong place and I didn't see your name. So when I looked at the right place, there you are. But GG's and congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you.
So the big turning point, the big deal is, it might not be a surprise to you, and I don't know how much you've talked because of the delay with Frostbite, is that Wyvern fight that you were able to get through by knowing where that curse ring was.
Yep. That was very decisive.
So, like, the first time that you saw Wyvern and the Mega Nuke hit, did you immediately remember exactly where that curse ring was, and that was your... Because we saw you beelining it out of there, and when you opened that, you went right back. Was that the plan all the time, all the way?
Basically, I remember getting it. At first, I should have this, and it's like, no, I had the reset out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a number of bosses early, especially like that Dark Knight Cecil, that gave you some problems, but it really turned around once you were able to to complete that Tower of Zot, not only for obvious reasons with the key item progression, but the levels made it so that you were able to get through like that Mount Ordeals sequence very quickly.
Yeah. I knew that once I knew that the stuff on the overworld wasn't going to be too hard, but I was going to need levels and some luck for those fights. I was going to want levels anyways.
I guess the only real question that I had in your decision making was when you decided to do your grind, you were at 9 key items. Did you ever think about going down to like Feymarch and checking that vanilla rat tail chest?
I think no. I think I decided I'm just going to do this grind.
Yeah, we kind of postulated that that was kind of one of the lines that you could take. Commander, did you have a question?
Yeah, at that point, were you just feeling behind with as much work as you'd had to do to get through the seed, or is that just not a move you would normally make at all?
I think I just decided to do that move. I think when I got there, I knew I was either going to be ahead or in line with where my opponent was. Since I knew like that Wyvern was going to gatekeep the end of this game.
Yeah, no doubt it did. So this puts you at 2 and 3, kind of on the cusp here, but you've got a big match still going up, and that match is against Oscar Edwin. So what are your thoughts, and what are you feeling like at your place right now in the table?
Going to be mixed. I feel like I'm going to end it. Don't know what the tiebreaker is going to look like, so I'm not sure how that's going to end up.
Right, yeah, that's going to be a tough one, but I think with this, you at least the hope is still alive, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, did you have any other final thoughts after your race tonight?
Not really. It was amusing getting like the legend sword from Yang down there.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was cool that like having those hourglasses that you bought to help with that gold dragon that you ended up taking because you were just a little bit shy of the nukes on the Palom. So it ended up helping you out too. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, Dragus, thank you for joining us, and good luck at your next match.
Thank you. And I'll see people another day. I guess tomorrow.
There you go.
And I believe we are now also joined by Frostbite 3030. Frostbite, tough loss here. That Wyvern really did you wrong.
Yeah, I knew. Like, I was too tired to play this race. I really, like, if this had been the first week, I would have seen if we could have rescheduled, because it's just a bad day for me to do this, but there's not a lot of time left, and so I knew right away when I couldn't remember the items I got in the treasury at all that I was screwed. And that really hurt me. Like, it's not the major losses, but like I would have got through that Fabul fight the first time if I hadn't remembered I got a Grimoire when I was looking through my menu after bouncing, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that was the problem. And then, like, I have this theory in this game that if you get an item from the first thing, that it's super important, because there's not a lot of spots to randomize you can put things. And if it crams something like the Darkness Crystal behind the pan earlier, I don't even know how it works, but it has to put them in some sort of sequential order. It can't place them all simultaneously. And therefore, to complete a seed, it's often going to have to jam items right into the first couple items for you to be able to get those items later on if a lot of the spots are filled, right? So I have a theory that you should always follow the opening item no matter what, and I didn't do it in this seed. I thought about immediately leaving Zot, going and picking up that Palom. I figured, I think his agility starts at, like, it's pretty low, right? Is it like 4 or 6 or something like that? And I figured with the Assassin Knife and with the Heroine Robe, I could probably get Palom and Porom to RA1 and be able to take the Wyvern on battle speed 6, but, like, I wasn't entirely sure of the math, and I didn't want to take that chance until I basically had no option. And it was a mistake. Obviously, I knew that was the play right from the beginning. and I was annoyed when it ended up being there. So yeah, but yeah, this was probably the worst I played. I feel like in all the other matches, maybe against CNC, I just got crushed from the beginning. But against Dia and against Baka, I had very good opportunities to win those matches and did mistakes and things that didn't go my way. This was another one where I feel like I had no chance from the start. I don't know how it played out, but I just like, this is a game, like I play a lot of randomizers, and I feel like I can keep a lot of it like half asleep and it's not a problem when I'm playing Z3R. But because of this, like with all of the numbers and all of the, like basically remembering the stuff you pick up, right? I feel like if I'm not super alert, I struggle to play at my peak, and yeah, that I felt definitely showed in this one. I just couldn't remember my gear, and that's always a problem.
Yeah, what I usually, how I describe that is like being aware of what you have and being able to use that to its best effect.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same sort of thing that you're just talking about right there.
Yeah, like situational awareness, right? Basically, and
Yeah.
I knew my Tello was getting too high. But, like, the characters were terrible in this seed. I'm not taking Cecil without a weapon, basically under any circumstances on these flags, unless it's a starting character.
Sure.
And the only other melee character was, of course, the Cid behind the Wyvern. And so,
Right.
And then I knew, like, I'm doing the math as I'm walking into Magnus Cave. I'm thinking, I think I have 16 arrows with Pala, with Porum. I have an Assassin Dagger with Pala, which I figured it would do 20 damage. I think it ended up doing like 60. And I was thinking, like, I should leave halfway through and just go buy more arrows because I'm going to run out. And sure enough, I ran out. And I was trying to add it up, but I figured I was at over about 35 or 4,000 by then. And I just figured it would be quicker just to grind that out rather than leave and go back to it. Because obviously I knew that either Demas there had the Magma Key or
Right.
it was the Demas with the Magma Key at that point. But
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a rough one. I'm not a big fan of starts like this. Like, I don't like necessarily, like what I had got the crystal at 20 minutes, looking for one item for the rest of the seed. It's not entirely how I enjoy playing the game. Like, I like to play a lot of the game, and I guess I ended up doing it. You really didn't have to, but yeah, I like when you actually have to play more.
Well, I will say it was fun to see the little girl punch strat
Yeah,
on the on the Divas.
She was
fight.
doing like 22 or something like that. You know, and you know what? The reason why I didn't go buy arrows is because I figured, you know what? I can just Zerker.
Yes.
And maybe she'll run out because I'm going to have to Zerker with Tella. And I know that can sometimes, you know, if you don't self-Zerk, I understand that can lead to issues. And I wasn't necessarily at a great agility setup. So I wasn't confident that was going to entirely work. But I figured it was worth a chance. And then it was Demas. And I just started laughing. I was like, this is so dumb. Like every boss was the worst. Like that Magus Sisters at Fabul with a twin start is horrible. Like it's absolutely the worst boss that can be there. That I think CPU is the worst boss that can appear anywhere when you have a mage party, and a non-Quake maging party at that. So like I thought, should I just leave when I saw it? I'm thinking, I didn't remember I had the Grimoire at that point. I probably would have used it then if I'd thought about it. And then I'm thinking, well, I can probably bluff Palom, and as long as I win the 50-50, I can do this. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to the seed I was playing this afternoon, where I had a Baigan, and it was the same scenario. He was an Antlion, and I had to get one hit on the body, and I hit the arms 11 times in a row before it hit the body. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe this game doesn't like me today. So yeah, the CPU was terrible. The Magus Sisters was terrible. The Wyvern was obviously hilariously terrible. The Demas couldn't have been in a worse spot for my party. Like it was laughably uncooperative.
I mean, in summary, like Neobari had all objectives accessible from the moment you started the seed up, and a Palom start, which normally doesn't say rude overworld.
No, definitely not.
Surprises.
Yeah, this was it was definitely rude. I mean, and the other thing, surviving that DKC by 4 hit points on my
yes, that was great.
That was sweet.
I don't know if you guys looked it up. I think the maximum is like 337 in that spot. I'm not sure. I actually have whatever the maximums are at like every boss starting at the Underworld, like in my spreadsheet that I play with, but I don't really list those things for the early bosses. So I was just like, well, let's just hope I can get through this because this is annoying.
Well, did you have any final thoughts after your race tonight, Frostbite?
Yeah, I got 2 more coming up. Hopefully, I can take one of them. Don't want to go 0-6, but I mean, honestly, I if you would have made me pick a score going into it without knowing who I was facing, I would have bet that I was going to go 0-6. So I guess I'm not surprised by that. But yeah, I'm really, really going to look forward to not playing these flags because I'm not, it's not like I'm not enjoying it, but like I found the group flags a lot more interesting than these ones because a lot of these seeds it just tends to be like do 3 characters, find Tella, do a D Machine grind, don't find Tella, do Mac Giant grind. Like there's basically 2 seeds, and I found like the sirens and stealing sirens and the various siren grinds that take different amounts of times. I found it made a lot more options in the opening rounds that found it more entertaining to play, and so I'm looking forward, honestly, in some respects, to not feeling obligated to practice table flags anymore. But anyways, thanks so much for the inviting me in here, and Commander Leonhardt and Rex Rule. I'm sure the commentary was great, and I look forward to you guys hopefully making fun of some of the dumb things I did and maybe offering good suggestions that could help me in the future. But really appreciate taking the time to have me in here, and shout out to Snowbari for rolling that beauty, and I guess Jeebus for both helping me with a lot of stuff in the game and for doing the tracking on it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for letting us watch your race today. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
All right. Well, that was Frostbite, who took 2nd place today. And that's going to be about it for our broadcast. We're going to be sending you all on over to, I believe it's Limit Break, or is it Free Enterprise? Sorry,
We got Free Enterprise.
Okay, Free. I saw it, and then
we've got it's cool. We've got a lot of partner channels which we need to be able to show you all of these amazing races, but we're going back home this time.
All right. Well, thank you once again to Niabari on the restream, Jeebus on the tracking, my co-commentator Commander Leonhardt. I'm Rex Raoul. Also, once again, shout outs to the Randomania Network for letting us do our races over on their network, because we've got a lot. We've been bringing, I think, like 200 races so far in this event alone, which is insane, but it's just wonderful. And having somebody like Randomania there to help us with that has been wonderful as well.
And a quick reminder, don't spoil this race when we get to the next place.
And thanks for watching, everybody.